Hi, you're on the Reddit Confessions channel, where silence turns into stories. No introductions, no names, just this. She toasted her boss's promotion and forgot her husband was standing 6 feet away, holding her coat. She clinked her glass with his like they were the only two people in the room. Champagne spilled down the side of the flute and dripped onto her wrist. She didn't care. She licked it off, slowly, laughing at something I never heard. The worst part? I was right there. 6 feet away. Not behind a wall. Not across the building. Not watching through a window. Just 6 feet. Close enough to smell the citrus in her perfume. Close enough to see her wedding ring tucked into the tiny zipper pocket of her clutch. And she still didn't see me. We weren't fighting. We weren't on a break. I had literally driven her there. Waited while she reapplied lipstick in the car. Even told her she looked stunning when she asked, "Is this too much?" She wasn't asking for my opinion. She was looking for a preview. For him. They kept laughing, whispering. One of her heels dangled off her foot as she leaned in closer to him. And I just stood there. Like furniture. Like a coat rack with feelings. Someone asked if I was part of the waitstaff. I said nothing. I didn't even touch the food. Didn't even fake a phone call to step outside. I just watched. Watched the way she tossed her head back when he called her irreplaceable. Watched the way her fingers brushed his lapel when she accidentally lost her balance. Watched the way everyone around them knew exactly what was going on. Except, apparently, me. Or maybe I did know. I just wasn't ready to admit it. It took me 45 minutes to do something about it. Not because I was unsure, but because part of me hoped she'd glance over her shoulder. Even once. Give me that look. The one that says, stay. She never did. So I left. No yelling. No scene. Just walked straight out the door and down the marble steps. I hadn't even reached the sidewalk when my phone buzzed. Her message was short. Please come back. Now tell me, why does a woman remember her husband exists only after he disappears? When I read, please come back, I didn't feel relief. I felt insulted. After an hour of standing like a ghost at her boss's party, I was supposed to forget everything just because she realized I was gone? No. Something about that message felt off. Rushed, nervous, not regretful. Like she hadn't missed me. She missed control. I didn't reply. I didn't even slow down. I walked past the rideshare pickup area, turned down the block, and found a quiet bench near a bus stop. I just sat. No plan. No drama. Just trying to make sense of what had just happened. I wasn't angry. Not yet. Just hollow. Confused. Ashamed that I still hoped she'd come running after me. She didn't. Instead, 2 more texts came in within 5 minutes. Where did you go? People are asking where you are. Not I'm sorry. Not I didn't mean to ignore you. Just, where did you go? People noticed. That's when it hit me. Her concern wasn't about me. It was about appearances. So I scrolled through my photos. I had taken one earlier that evening while she was getting ready. Her in front of the mirror, tilting her head slightly, asking if her earrings were too much. I remember thinking she looked like she belonged on the cover of some luxury magazine. Now, looking at that same photo, all I could feel was distance. She wasn't looking at me in the mirror. She was looking at herself. Then I made the mistake of checking her social media. Photos from the party were already posted. One of them showed her with Colin, her boss, standing far too close, laughing like they were already halfway through an inside joke. Her hand was on his chest. The caption read, "Power team celebrating a big win, clinking glasses." Power team. I wasn't even in the picture. Literally or otherwise. I zoomed in on the background. That was me, blurred out behind a floral arrangement. Not cropped. Just completely overlooked by the camera and by her. Like I was never really part of her night. I stared at that picture for way too long. I wanted to be the kind of guy who could just shake it off. But I'm not. I'm not built that way. I notice details. I remember small things. Like how she used to hold my hand during awkward dinners. Or how she once told me, "If I ever ignore you in public, just know I'd never ignore you in private." That was 5 years ago. She doesn't say things like that anymore. My phone buzzed again. "Curtis, please. Just come back. We need to talk." That one made me pause. Not because of the message, but because of the we. We need to talk. Not I need to explain, or I feel terrible. We. Was Colin going to be part of this little chat too? Something was wrong. I didn't know what it was yet, but I felt it. I stood up. My thumb hovered over the call button. But instead, I pressed record. If she had something to say, I wanted to remember exactly how she said it. I didn't go back through the front door. I circled around the block and slipped into the alley behind the venue. The party was in full swing, and I could hear the music thumping from the back terrace. Laughter echoed between the stone walls. That specific kind of corporate-laced joy, fake, polished, clinking with glasses full of networking and barely disguised flirtation. I stood behind a hedge near the service entrance, not quite sure what I was waiting for. Maybe a sign, maybe proof, or maybe just the sound of my wife's voice saying something I wasn't meant to hear. And then I got it. I recognized her laugh first. Light, effortless. A performance she'd perfected. It came from just around the corner, on the edge of the patio, near the outdoor heaters where the VIPs gathered. I moved closer, slow and silent, heart racing. My phone was already recording, screen dimmed, tucked low in my palm. Colin's voice came next. You think he noticed? She giggled. Curtis? Come on. He's harmless. He probably thinks I'm still networking. Wasn't he standing right behind you earlier? Colin asked. Danika's voice dropped. Yeah, and he looked like he was going to cry. I told him to come. Didn't think he'd actually hover. Honestly, I just didn't want to deal with the why didn't you invite me drama later. Another voice chimed in, a woman. I didn't know her, but she had that smug, tipsy tone. I wouldn't be surprised if he left. You kind of iced him out all night. I had to, Danika said quickly. You don't get promoted by dragging around your mopey husband like a ball and chain. Colin understands, right? I do, he said. And it worked. Everyone saw you with me tonight. No distractions. No distractions. That's what I was now. Not a partner. Not a person. Just background noise she had to mute so she could perform better for her next career step. I didn't move. I couldn't. My chest tightened, and for a second, I actually forgot how to breathe. The three of them kept talking like I was nobody. Like the man who built IKEA furniture with her at midnight, who stayed up during her migraines, who surprised her with sushi on her bad days. Never existed. I texted him to come back, Danika added with a casual shrug. If he does, great. If not, less cleanup for me. They laughed. They laughed. And I stood there, invisible and shaking. I ended the recording and backed away, footsteps quiet on the pavement, my mind spinning. It wasn't just the betrayal. It was how comfortable she was with it. How easy it was for her to explain away my presence, like I was some obligation she had to hide under a napkin. When I reached the sidewalk again, my phone buzzed. Another message from her. Please come back, Curtis. I'm sorry. I just got flustered. Now she was sorry. Now that her plan had played out and the crowd had thinned, I didn't reply. Instead, I opened a cloud folder, uploaded the audio file, and titled it, What You Really Think of Me. And I started walking. Not toward the party. Not toward home. Just away. Away from the version of myself I had allowed her to create. Quiet. Forgiving. Always watching from the sidelines. I didn't go home that night. I walked until my feet started to ache through my dress shoes, then found an all-night diner tucked between a laundromat and a gas station. The kind of place that smells like burnt coffee and reheated fries. I slid into a booth, ordered nothing, and just sat there, alone with my thoughts and the recording I couldn't bring myself to play again. I had no plan. Just this dull, hollow ache in my chest and a slow-burning anger that simmered behind my ribs. I wasn't even sure if I was mad at Danika or at myself for letting things get this far, for believing the little reassurances, for swallowing the excuses, for always being the understanding husband. The text messages kept coming. Please, just talk to me. Can you come back? We need to clear the air. I'm sorry if it came off wrong. If. That word said everything. Then, just as I was about to power off my phone, a new idea surfaced, one I didn't expect. There was one person I knew would never sugarcoat things. Someone who had warned me once before, and I brushed it off like a fool. Her sister, Tessa. Tessa and Danika weren't exactly close anymore, but when they were, Tessa had always told me she didn't trust how Danika changed around powerful men. I had chalked it up to sibling rivalry, jealousy, but now, I knew better. I uploaded the audio to a private drive, typed out a short message, just 4 words, and hit send. You were always right. Less than 5 minutes later, my phone rang. It was Tessa. I hesitated but answered. I just listened to it, she said, skipping any pleasantries. Curtis, are you okay? No, I said truthfully. But I'm awake now. There was a silence on the line. Then she said, You're not going back, are you? I exhaled slowly, my eyes fixed on the neon diner sign flickering outside the window. I don't know. She's still pretending it was nothing. Of course she is, Tessa snapped. She's good at rewriting things to protect herself. But you have proof now. Don't let her make you feel like you're overreacting. You're not. I didn't cry, but something broke in my throat. Maybe not a sob, but something close. Something tired. Tessa didn't rush me. She just waited. Then she said something I didn't expect. Come stay with me. You need space. I have an extra room. No pressure, no speeches. Just somewhere that isn't hers. I didn't answer right away, but I saved the address she sent. Meanwhile, Danica sent another message. Curtis, I've been crying. I didn't mean anything by it. You always take things too far. Please, let's talk like adults. Adults. She wanted to talk like adults after laughing about me like a background prop at her promotion pageant. I didn't answer her text. Instead, I packed a bag from our closet while she was still at the party. Yes, I used the spare key from under the porch light, the one she thought I didn't know about. I took what was mine. Just mine. Then, before walking out, I left a note on the bed. It read, I heard everything, and I recorded it. I didn't sign it. I just walked out, locked the door behind me, and left her with the version of herself she thought I'd never see. By the time I got to Tessa's place, my phone had already vibrated itself halfway across the passenger seat. 20 missed calls. 13 texts. Most of them bouncing between fake calm and unraveling panic. The last one just said, What did you hear? I didn't reply. I couldn't. Because no matter how many different ways she tried to dress it up, she knew exactly what I'd heard. And that terrified her more than anything else I could have said. Tessa opened her door in sweats and a hoodie. No questions, no judgment. Just handed me a blanket and pointed to the guest room. Sleep. Talk tomorrow. She didn't ask if I was hungry, or if I was sure. She didn't give me the pitying look everyone else always does when a man gets publicly humiliated. She just gave me space. Honestly, that was more comforting than anything Danica had done for me in months. But I couldn't sleep. I lay there replaying every interaction from the past year in my head. Every time she had dismissed me, minimized me, made me feel like a burden for asking her to spend time together. I remembered her saying things like, You're just too sensitive, or, It's not a big deal, Curtis. You always take things personally. She gaslit me so gently I started believing it myself. I started apologizing for her neglect, for her cruelty. And now, her mask had cracked. Not because I caught her cheating, not in the physical sense, but because I heard how she talked when I wasn't supposed to hear. And that was worse. The next morning, at 6:42 a.m., she finally snapped. You're overreacting. You embarrassed me by walking out. Do you know how awkward that was for me? That text broke me. Not because it was cruel, but because it was so predictable. It proved everything. I hadn't misunderstood anything. I hadn't imagined the shift. I had simply finally seen it clearly. I recorded a voice message and sent it back. Just my voice, calm and low. I stood behind you for over an hour. I waited for a glance, a nod, a single word. I watched you laugh with him, not once acknowledging that your husband was in the room. Then I heard you dismiss me to your coworkers like I was disposable. Not embarrassed for me, embarrassed by me. That says it all. I didn't check to see if she listened. I didn't care. Later that day, Tessa and I were sitting in her kitchen, sipping black coffee. She finally spoke the thing I was afraid to say aloud. She's not sorry for what she did, Tessa said. She's sorry you found out. Big difference. I nodded slowly. She's going to try to spin this. Play the victim. She's already trying, Tessa said, showing me her phone. Danica had texted her too. A long paragraph about how Curtis is emotional, how I was twisting things, and how she was scared for our future if he keeps spiraling like this. Spiraling. That's what she called me finally confronting the truth. That's when it clicked. She was preparing a version of the story. Not for me, but for others. Friends, family, co-workers, maybe even HR. She wanted to paint me as unstable before I had a chance to speak. But I wasn't going to play her game. I had the recording. I had the truth. And now, I had an idea. By noon, I'd stopped shaking. Something shifted inside me. I wasn't the confused husband anymore, pacing hallways with a phone full of unread messages. I was something sharper now. Focused. I realized that for the first time in our marriage, I had something she didn't. Control over the truth. Not speculation. Not emotion. Cold, documented proof. I didn't want revenge. That's what everyone thinks when a relationship falls apart this way. But no, I didn't want to humiliate her. I just didn't want her to bury me in lies while smiling like the wrong party. I wanted the people around her, the ones who saw me as mopey or clingy or the awkward husband, to hear what I heard. I didn't leak it online. That would have been cowardly. Instead, I sent the audio file directly to two people, her HR manager and her closest colleague at work, Adrian, the one who'd always told me with forced sympathy, Danika's under a lot of pressure. She doesn't mean to seem distant. I wrote a short email. I'm not trying to ruin anyone's life. I just think people deserve to know who they're actually working beside. No threats. No dramatic declarations. Just the truth. I hit send. Then I waited. 30 minutes later, my phone rang. It was Adrian. I let it go to voicemail. The message came in 5 minutes later, her voice low and shaken. Curtis, I didn't know. I swear. I had no idea she talked about you like that. This is messed up. I'm so sorry. That's when I knew. The illusion had cracked. Danica couldn't hide behind her curated version of the marriage anymore. People were hearing her real voice now, the one she saved for when she thought no one was listening. Meanwhile, Danica kept trying to regain control. Texts turned into emails. Long ones. Pages of rationalizations. Half apologies wrapped in passive language. I didn't think you'd take it that way. Colin and I just have a dynamic. It's not what you think. I wasn't mocking you. I was just trying to blend in. Then the last line that made me pause. Please, Curtis, don't destroy what I've built. That's when I realized what really mattered to her. Not the marriage. Not the betrayal. The image. She didn't want to save us. She wanted to save face. Tessa walked in while I was staring at the screen, and without asking, grabbed my phone and tossed it onto the counter. You don't owe her a response, she said. She wasn't worried about destroying you when she was laughing at you behind your back. I nodded. She keeps saying I'm overreacting. She's terrified, Tessa said. You're not reacting, you're finally responding. That's different. Later that evening, Adrian texted me again. HR is taking it seriously. There's going to be a meeting. Just a heads up. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. It was out of my hands now. And for once, I felt calm. I sat on Tessa's balcony, sipping tea like an old man, watching the sun dip below the skyline. For the first time in years, I wasn't wondering where Danica was, who she was texting, whether I was being too clingy or too invisible. I was just there, existing, without apology, and I liked it. 3 days passed. I didn't return a single message. Not because I was trying to be cold, I just didn't owe her my attention anymore. For years, I'd been the one to reach across the silence, to soften after every passive-aggressive jab, to find a reason to forgive before she even explained. But now that I had given her silence, she didn't know how to survive it. She finally called from an unknown number. I answered, not because I missed her voice, but because I wanted to hear how she'd try to frame it. I expected desperation or fake humility. What I didn't expect was strategy. Curtis, she said. Her voice was strained, like she'd been rehearsing it for hours. You've made your point. Okay. You've embarrassed me, and everyone knows about the audio. Congratulations. But can we please talk like two adults before this gets worse? There it was again. That tone. Not sadness. Not shame. Management. I said nothing. She continued. I know I hurt you. I know I made you feel small. But I've worked really hard to build something for us, for myself. And if you really ever loved me, you won't let one private moment ruin everything. I finally spoke. Danica, it wasn't one moment. It was years of small cuts. And you made it public the second you made a joke out of me in a room full of people who were supposed to respect our marriage. She scoffed. You're being dramatic. No, I'm being detailed. There's a difference. She paused, thrown off by the version of me she hadn't met before. I wasn't stammering. I wasn't trying to make peace. I wasn't even angry anymore. I was just finished. Look, she said, softening her tone. We can move past this. Just delete the audio, tell HR it was a misunderstanding, and we'll figure it out. Together. You don't get to say together now, I replied. You were never alone in that marriage, Danica. I was. And the truth is, I've been alone for a long time. There was a silence so thick I could hear her breathing. I continued. This wasn't about revenge. I didn't leak anything. I didn't send it to the internet. I sent it to two people. People who needed to hear how you talk about others when they're not useful to you. Her voice broke, finally. They've put me on leave, Curtis. HR is reviewing conduct. You don't know what this could do to my career. And you didn't know what your behavior was doing to our marriage, I said calmly. Or maybe you did. Maybe you just didn't care. She went quiet again. No more defenses. No more spin. For the first time, I think she understood she wasn't getting her version of closure. I loved you, she whispered. No, I said. You love the idea of me. The quiet one. The easy one. The one who never pushed back. But the second I stopped playing that role, you started seeing me as a problem. I didn't wait for a response. I ended the call. Tessa walked in a minute later with 2 mugs of coffee and sat beside me on the couch. Was that her? I nodded. Yeah, her final move. Did it work? I looked down at my phone, no longer buzzing, no longer a weapon. No, I said. It didn't. That night, I slept like I hadn't in years. It's strange how silence feels when it's no longer heavy. For so long, the quiet between Danica and me was thick with unsaid things. I used to beg for scraps of connection, a look, a touch, a simple, "How was your day?" and convince myself that her indifference was just stress or ambition. But now, the silence I live in is peaceful, chosen, free. Danica's HR investigation didn't end dramatically. She wasn't fired, not immediately. But word spread. The team dynamic shifted. Her reputation, polished, professional, poised, cracked just enough for people to question what they thought they knew. And I didn't have to lift a finger. Truth has a way of echoing, even when whispered. As for me, I stayed with Tessa for a while, longer than I thought I would. She never pushed, never prodded, just let me rebuild myself at my own pace. I found a therapist who didn't tell me to man up, but actually asked, when did you start believing your needs didn't matter? That question gutted me, but it also started to heal something. I started going on walks without looking at my phone. I cooked for myself, not just for someone else's approval. I read books I used to say I didn't have time for. And one night, sitting on Tessa's porch under a soft sky, I realized something that both stung and set me free. Danica was never going to come back and say, I see you now. But I finally saw myself. And that was enough. Last week, I signed the divorce papers. No fireworks. No screaming. Just closure. And this morning, I dropped off the last of her things, box sealed, no note inside. She messaged me once afterward. I hope you're okay. I didn't reply, because I am okay. Better than okay. I'm building something new now. Not a relationship. Not yet. Just a life that isn't rooted in being tolerated. A life that actually feels like mine. And to anyone watching this who feels invisible in their own story, don't wait for someone to notice you. Notice yourself. The moment you stop begging to be seen, you start becoming impossible to ignore. If you've ever experienced something like this, or seen someone reclaim their voice after being pushed to the background, share your thoughts below. Or better yet, tell us about an inspiring turning point from history where someone finally stood up and said, no more. We'd love to hear it. You're on Reddit Confessions, where the quiet ones speak the loudest. Thanks for watching. Stay strong. Stay honest. Stay seen.